I'm here with Rick and a very special guest, the guiding teacher of the Tergar meditation community and truly a world-renowned teacher of meditation, Mingyur Rinpoche. Rinpoche, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
I'm very happy to be here.
I've been looking forward to this for a pretty long time. I read your book, In Love with the World, a number of years ago. I was very touched by it. It was about this wandering retreat that you did about 15 years ago. And a big part of that retreat for you was trying to move beyond what you call it the relative self. This was the self that was kind of propped up by all of these labels and structures and all the things that you had around you. But today, you are once again an abbot, an esteemed teacher. You're back to those roles and those labels and all of that. And I'm wondering how your relationship with that has been changed based on those experiences.
Yeah, I'm very happy that I had the wandering retreat experience. Special at the beginning of my retreat, I almost died. I have few thousand Indian rupees and all this finished within 3 weeks. I have to beg food after that, and I got food poison. So diarrhea, vomiting for 5-6 days. Then my body collapsed, and since everything dissolves, and my body became paralyzed. But I had wonderful experience. So I'm saying that that is the one of the best experience in my life. Then after that, life become easy.
How did it become easy? Yeah.
Because before that, I have so much feeling that, oh, the street is dirty. You know, in India, many places are dirty, unsafe, lot of mosquitoes, dogs around there. And sometimes I have a question, why I come here, you know? But then after I almost die, come back, then the street become like my home. And this is why I wrote the book, In Love with the World. So when you love the world loves you back. So much appreciation, gratitude. Just seeing the trees, you know, the first time I wake up from that, almost die, the trees become like alive, almost like what I call tree of love. And the wind blows to my body. I feel so much appreciation, just happy to being alive. So then I don't have, once I don't feel unsafe, that gone, then actually I become smart. I know where to get food, where to walk. So 4.5 years in the mountain. And as you said, I come back. So when I come back at the beginning, like I came to Bodh Gaya, my monastery in Bodh Gaya, now they have new security guard, you know, a group of them. And that time I have beer. They don't want to let in my own monastery. They thought this look like beggar. Why this guy coming here? And then I have to call them, the in charge, the person, and they recognize me. So finally I came in. But I'm very happy to be back, and now I'm teaching many places around the world, and very happy to share this wonderful experience.
How does the kind of realization that you've had and you live in and you teach, how does it affect ordinary reactions to things like physical pain or other people possibly mistreating you? What happens in your mind when that kind of stuff occurs?
So I feel like there is some kind of like joy or contentment or the feeling of completeness. So before, when I was young, I had panic attacks. Then that time always there's unsafe, incompleteness, hollow, insecurity, but this is gone. So that contentment, joy, completeness never change. Although I experience sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes I feel sad, sometimes I feel tired, sometimes. But whatever happened is like on the surface level. The deep down, the essence of that, there's a joy. I feel this contentment always there.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean this with utmost respect. human to human, I'm glad for you. And I can say for myself that and I think Forrest too, we are on our own journey in that direction, certainly.
It's something you wish for people to have,
Yeah,
of course.
it's a
Yeah,
beautiful
you
journey.
wish for all people to have that kind of an experience. Yeah.
There's this fantastic sentence. I'm a writer, so I, of course, love a great sentence. And there's this fantastic sentence in the epilogue to your book. It goes, the spacious mind recognizes that all forms arise from unborn space, and that ultimately they are clouds without beginning or end.
Yes. So this is my first kind of like lesson that I learned from my father, because I have panic attacks. So when I was 7, 8 years old, the panic gradually developed with me. When I was 9, become very severe. So I always thought it's heart attack. So something wrong with my heart. So I asked my mom, go to check many doctors, and all of them said, "Oh, you have very good heart." Then I thought, bad doctor, This doctor don't know anything about my heart. But in Kathmandu, there's one doctor, which is from America. So there's American hospital there. And the doctor was student of my father. So I trust that doctor. And I asked my mom to check with that doctor. Doctor said, something. Your heart is so wonderful. And I thought, what's wrong with me? And my mom said, maybe panic attacks. So then I asked my father to teach me meditation. So my first question is, how I can get rid of these panic attacks? And he said, don't get rid of panic attacks. Then I told him, okay, now I will not learn meditation from you.
There's a stubbornness in you that probably served you well in your journey too. Okay. Then what happened?
Then my father said, trust me. Why you should not fight with panic attacks? 2 reasons. The first reason, he said, no need. Because there's a wonderful quality within you. So normally what we call basic goodness, basic innate goodness, our true nature. So he gave me example like sky. So he asked me, watch the storm, how the storm appear in the sky. And then after that, check that these storms can change the nature of sky or not. So I was waiting for storm for 3 weeks. When I need storm doesn't come. But then one day the big, huge storm came, thunder, which is I really don't like. But that day, quite interesting. So storm came into the sky, stay in the sky, dissolve back to the sky. And I see that sky never change by pollution, nor storms. Then I report this to my father. And he said, yes, your panic attacks, it's just like storm, but your true nature is like sky. So, and then he introduced me my true nature, which is awareness, love and compassion, and the wisdom. These 3 innate qualities are always there, 24 hours within me. Of course, the beginning, I don't believe. Then second reason, he said, if you fight with the panic attacks, it gets worse. So we did simple exercise. In Tibetan, the dish, what we call momo. So momo is very famous, like dumpling. And he said, tell yourself, don't think about momo. Don't think about momo. Then what happened?
Think about the momo.
Yeah. Full of momos.
Yeah.
So same thing with the panic attacks. No panic. then more panic comes. So later I discovered that I have panic of panic, aversion of panic. So therefore, once you accept panic, but not need to follow the panic, but make it friends through awareness, love, and compassion, wisdom, and panic become your friend.
Something you already know, Rinpoche, but I'll say as a psychologist, perhaps for other people, that it's exactly right. It's the fear of panic that often becomes the real issue for people, including leading people to be housebound, or they start avoiding certain situations in which they fear panic can arise, and then that becomes the larger issue. So you're, yep, exactly right. Acceptance of the panic possibility is really freeing.
So for me, I've certainly had some of those experiences. I talk on the podcast pretty regularly with people about having a little bit of a tendency toward anxiety in my temperament, maybe not so much of storms, but in this case, the storm is kind of more other people. My anxiety tends to be more about relationships or about social situations or things like that. And it's really helped me to think in the way that you are speaking here, where that aversion, in a funny kind of way, is something that's just continuing to connect me to the experience. And it's sort of one thing to see the sky when you're not like in it, when you got that space. But when you got a lot of clouds, it's a lot harder to see the sky. And so I'm wondering what kinds of, obviously a lot of this is about practice and the kind of deep practice that you teach and that you've done. But what helps people see the sky when it's not so easy to do that?
Yeah. So the simple, normal, what we call the introduction of our innate qualities, which is very simple. Like, for example, can you see my hand?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So that is what we call awareness. So awareness meaning our mind has capability to see, think, feel, to perceive something. So for example, if we go to the cinema, there's a projector, right? And that projector projecting on the big screen, then the story comes. The good story, bad story, different colors, and then there's the environment, so many things. And if he asks, what is the essence of this story, or what the material of this story is, light, right? Everything's light. The environment is light, the person is light, the yellow color is light, black color is light, green color, red color. Everything is light. And that light is very pure. But basis of everything is light. So same thing in our mind, the fundamental quality of the mind is what we call awareness, luminosity, clarity, lucidity, like cognizing, knowingness. So that awareness actually like sky. And the story is like cloud. So it's very important that for us, what we call the main focus of the meditation is subject-based, subject-oriented meditation, not the object. So that means first you have to recognize awareness. Then you can take anything as support for recognition of that awareness, which is form, sound, smell, taste, bodily sensation, eventually thought, emotion. Everything can be support for recognizing awareness and maintain that awareness. So then what we call in the end, the suffering become maybe happiness, obstacle may become opportunity, problem may become solution for inner journey perspective. So for me, it really happens. My panic attacks in the end become my teacher, my best friend. I learned so much from my panic attacks. And I'm here now teaching this, talking about this, and wrote book about this because of panic attacks.
Could you also speak about the second and third aspects of true nature, the second being innate goodness, however you would talk about it?
Same question. Can you see my hand?
Still there?
Mm-hmm. It's still there. Chugging along.
So The recognition of my hand is what we call wisdom. What is the wisdom? Wisdom meaning discernment, or recognizing, or detecting, identifying. So, and these are normally caused by curiosity, caused by asking question. So we have that kind of like a discernment. At the same time, their reaction. So the moment you look at the hand, normally, oh, nice hand, not nice, so. Or even the wanting to look at the hand has the intention, motivation. So that is what we call love and compassion. What is the meaning of love? Looking for happiness, virtue, meaning, purpose, something nice. Compassion meaning wanting to free from suffering, problem, obstacle. So what we call each movement of our body looking for happiness. While you're listening this broadcast, maybe you might hold your hand, crossing your arms one way, and after a few minutes later feel uncomfortable, you may change to another way. Or maybe you're using your hand to hold your chins, or maybe you lie down, or maybe you can change to different positions. So each movement of body looking for happiness to avoid suffering. Each eyes blink. If you don't blink your eyes, then suffering, right? So each blink looking for happiness. And each breathing unconscious level looking for happiness. And that is not just body, thought, momo, pizza. Why you think about that? Maybe you want to eat. Maybe you don't want to eat pizza. So each thought process, each emotional is deeper level based on love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Just daytime, not just daytime, even in the nighttime when you're asleep, if the mosquito comes, what we will do, scratch. So first, you recognize awareness. You experience awareness. You detect wisdom. You react, love and compassion. So the moment we see something, perceiving is awareness, recognizing is wisdom, reaction is love and compassion. So these innate qualities are always there with us, but then we are not recognized. First, what we call ignorant. Then based on that ignorance filters these qualities, then it's become aversion, attachment, and then become cause of suffering.
The qualities of awareness and wisdom seem inherently beneficial. The way you're talking about that third aspect, you're describing a stream of reactions, including, the Buddha talked about the aggregates and the sequence there. And so we see the hand, and then there's the so-called hedonic tone or feeling tone of the hand. We like it, we don't like it, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, so forth. And then a cascade of reactions ensue. That itself does not seem innately loving or innately compassionate or innately good as I hear you talk about it. So I'm trying to get at or understand better, what is this innate goodness? I mean, for example, many people, certainly in the West, have an underlying sense of innate badness. They feel innately flawed, broken, particularly if there's
so much wrong with me.
abuse or trauma in their history, not growing up in a loving family, and on and on and on. For me, one of the wonderful things about the Buddha Dharma is this, including especially its expressions in Tibet, is this focus on innate goodness.
Maybe I will tell you a story. So I teach these teachings a lot, and then sometimes people come and join. And sometime when I finish my teaching, go outside, and people waiting there, and sometimes they said, thank you so much for your teaching, wonderful teaching. And you tell everybody that they all have this wonderful quality within them. Maybe they might have, but I don't have, because I hate myself 24 hours. Just want to share with you. So then I said, why you come here? And then normally they say, I come here, want to learn from you. Then I asked second question, why you want to learn? They said, I want to free this self-hatred. This is why I want to learn from you. Then I said, you have self-love, self-compassion already there, because you took this time, effort, and you came here far away, buy the ticket. And there's a lot of self-care, self-compassion there, but we are not recognized. So then most of the time they say, yeah, that's true. So we have this kind of like, sometimes I give example like, we are wearing glass, we put the glass on the top of the head, and we thought we lost our own glass. And we look around. Did you see my glass? Today, whole day, I lost my glass, and I was looking at my bedroom, my office, living room, kitchen, cannot find it. But actually glass is on the top of your head. So these innate qualities, the wishing to be happy, don't want to suffer, the deeper level comes from love and compassion. But then they filters with the ignorant, plus then become aversion and craving. Another example is, if you wear yellow glass, then what happened? You will see everything yellow. But that is not the problem of your eyes. You have wonderful eyes. Maybe there's a good light out there. The problem is the glass, the filter. That feeling of looking for happiness, don't want to suffer, is also sign of basic goodness. Because you're worthy to be happy, what we call the homesick, inner homesick. So the traditional example is the bird nest. The Buddha said, sometimes this mother bird fly far away, no matter how far she go, in the end, she really want to return to the nest. Why? The nest is the real home for the bird. So for us, we all want to return to our real home, our true home. So this is why we are looking for happiness. We don't want to suffer. So in a way, we got homesick.
I'm here in two capacities. I'm here as a podcast host, and I'm here as a student, and I am really getting something here. It's really quite extraordinary. So as you well know, Rinpoche and Forrest does too, in early Buddhism, there's a lot of focus on craving and dukkha, and craving that leads to suffering, this whole cascade. And now 2,500 years later, there's a lot of focus in psychology around this sort of cascade of motivation and reactions. We want this, we don't like this, we do like that, and then we contract around it, selfing follows, and all the rest of that. That's a lot of focus here. What I'm hearing you say, that for me is personally revelatory, is that saturated in the middle of all that is this longing of the good heart to come home. And the evidence of that longing is in the search itself. Whoa, that's fantastic.
First time when I hear this, I don't believe these things, Yeah. My father said, you have this wonderful nature. I thought, I'm suffering here. I have this panic attacks.
Easy for you to say, Dad.
One time, me and my father, we were having lunch together in Nepal, in the nunnery. So my father always teach in the nunnery to the nuns and also foreign students. In the top of the nunnery, there's small room with a big window. So sometimes we meditate there. And from that window, we can see entire nunnery. And anytime there's new people comes to that nunnery, all the dogs are chasing after that person. So while we are having lunch, we hear them, ow, 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 ow. So all the dogs are going down. And my father said, hopefully these dogs will not bite the new person, Then my father said, actually, the nature of the dog and nature of you, meaning me, and he pointed, there's a big Buddha statue and Tanga. He said, the nature of Buddha is same. And I thought, my nature of dog might be same. But how come my nature and nature of all this Buddha is same? So I didn't believe at the beginning. But then it's not just belief. It's not just saying. There is step-by-step practice. As Buddha said, don't take my words because I say so. So you can examine, you can do experiment, you can try, then you can experience. Then you can take it. So there's entire path that how to explore these wonderful qualities within ourselves.
So asking about that Buddha nature a little bit that you just referred to there, Rinpoche, there's another fantastic line from the book that really stood out to me. Buddha nature can be summed up in a single word, courage. Specifically the courage to be just as we are, right here, right now, with all of our doubts and uncertainties. And I think it's that doubts and uncertainties part that people often really struggle with.
Yes. Yes. So me too. Not nowadays people struggle, but in the ancient time also. But at the same time, even the nature of the doubt itself is love and compassion. It is awareness. It is wisdom. But the doubt is surface level. So, like what we call the difference between enlightenment and then the sentient being, which is the confusion being, is just a recognition. There's no fundamental level difference. We all are equal. Like my father said, the dog and Buddha by nature is equal. But the only difference is we are not recognized, then we are trapped with this kind of like what we call, first is ignorant, of course, then there's imprint. That's called karma. So that imprint manifests, become bigger and bigger. Then there's subject, object, and then we are what we call, we create a lot of boxes. Yes box, no box, both box, neither of box. And in a way, we create our own prison and we put ourselves into our own prison.
I'm hearing phrases in my mind that translate into practice for people. Please let me know what you think about them.
Yes.
Find the love in the doubt. Find the longing to come home, to be home, in the anger, whatever.
Wonderful. I think you make very nice phrases.
Well, I think you make thank you. But I'm a therapist, so I kind of go there, But yeah, that's it. I'm doing it myself. It's so beautiful.
I'm wondering how this connects, Rinpoche, to this broad practice that you've been quite focused on recently of anytime, anywhere meditation, kind of like taking this teaching into life or seeing these little moments just throughout the day. Because I think often when we talk about meditation on the show, people ask questions like, how much should I meditate for it to really, be worth it? Or like, how often do I need to do this thing? And this conception of it that you have, I just think is a much cleaner way of talking about it and also much more pragmatically useful for people.
Yes. So anytime, anywhere meditation, first we introduce awareness, just like I discussed about the raising my hand and can you see my hand? And everybody say yes. And then we introduce that is awareness, the fundamental quality of the mind. Then we introduce meditation. Sometimes So our meditation is what we call the subject-oriented, meaning the awareness is important. Object is to just support for the awareness. So we can actually take any object. So anytime, anywhere, with anything. So sometimes I ask people say they want to learn breathing meditation. And then I ask them, are you breathing now? They say, what? Of course. Yes, I'm breathing now. Then I said, yes, that is meditation. Then sometimes they confuse. Are you sure? And sometimes they get it. They said, yes, because the moment when I ask, are you breathing now? And they say, yes, in that moment, the awareness is with the breath. So mind and the breath together. And that is the meditation. We don't need to have very strong focus like breathing, no pizza, only breathing, no past, no future, only breathing. Then the past and future pizza, all this comes more and more.
Yeah.
So normally what I said, let past come and go, let future come and go, let pizza come and go. What important is remember the breath. A short time, many time. It is not very long, but just come back to the breath again. Then let pizza come and go. Whatever bala bala yada yada come and go. So this is what I call 3 lifelong skill that we are learning through the meditation. For example, let everything come and go is what I call learning okay with not okay, right? And that is the beginning of learning love and compassion. But then you say everything okay. If you lost with that, then big problems. If you go to the restaurant and the waiter asks you, what do you want to eat? You say, hey, everything okay. And the waiter will be confused. So the second skill is the skill of being present, skill of awareness, meaning you come back to the breath again. So you're not totally lost. And the third skill is being with the natural breath, being with the breath as it is. So that is the beginning of wisdom. So, okay with not okay is the beginning of love and compassion, and it begins to free from aversion, but not totally lost. You come back to the presence, come back to the awareness again. Of course, you're learning awareness, but at the same time, you're freeing the craving. Because if you're lost with the craving, then you become out of control. But you're not really out of control. You come back. And then being with the reality as it is the beginning of deeper level of wisdom. And that frees ignorance eventually. So this style of meditation, anytime, anywhere meditation, is very simple, but you're learning the essence of entire meditation and also the Dharma.
It helped me to understand the 3 stages, in effect, that you lay out in your epilogue for people. I'll just say them back, and then you can please help us with them. Developing steadiness of mind, sometimes called shamatha, steadiness of mind, stability of presence. You're speaking of it right there. And then second element, insight, vipassana, insight into the nature of experiences as processes made of parts that are in relationship, continually changing, right? The wisdom element. And then very deeply, the union really of awareness and emptiness. And so the last one, I wonder if you could highlight, and another sentence that just zapped me in your epilogue is, here we are approaching the inseparability of awareness and emptiness. Awareness and emptiness. And for many people, emptiness is an unfamiliar term. It sounds like void or blank or nothing, nihilism, and it's not that, as you know. I wonder if you could just sort of clarify a little more, say a little more, what is meant by you and others in this tradition about emptiness, and then how emptiness and awareness, have an inseparability in their inherency.
So we talk about emptiness. Of course, emptiness is not nothingness. Sometimes what we call emptiness is equal to fullness. So Buddha talk about the matter is emptiness, but emptiness is also matter. And the matter is not different than emptiness, and emptiness is not different than matter. So you can understand this kind of like intellectual level or experiential level. Intellectual level, I normally discuss with the science, special physics. In the physics, what they discuss is without perceiver, then the things, whatever they perceive, is not exist. When we really look at the matter, like for example, particles, there are subatomic particles, then there are another subatomic particle. It's 99% empty, and there's something in the end you cannot find it. It's like become zero. But for science, sometimes they cannot explain then what is the manifest, the happening aspect. When they look at the happening aspect, then they loses the empty aspect. But according to the Buddha said, they are equal actually. Not exist yet can appear yet not exist. So this is more like scholar level of discussion. But then how we bring this to the experiential level, so then we discuss normally about that awareness. Nature of that awareness can experience. Everybody can experience. But you cannot really describe. There is sense of beyondness. When I discuss with some philosophers, many of them saying that experience cannot be described by intellectual mind. That's true. So that lucidity, knowingness, luminosity, whatever we call it, we can experience, but that cannot really grab it. There is sense of beyondness. So that beyondness is emptiness, yet you can experience is clarity or luminous. And these two are inseparable. And that is the nature of our being, not just nature of our being, also nature of thought, emotion, perception, memory, even nature of panic attacks, nature of anger and hatred. Everything is infused by this wonderful nature. But we need to see it. When we see, then they manifest for us.
People sometimes identify with awareness and they take it as a self and then attach to it, and then that's a problem. And the recognition that awareness itself is empty. It is. I think it was you maybe who said emptiness is easy to understand. It's like when you walk into a room and there is no furniture in the room is empty of furniture. And it's, in other words, if awareness itself is empty, it exists emptily, right? Then it's that undermines the sense of identification with awareness, which is problematic.
Sometimes what we said, you can say, I saw the space. What you see, actually nothing see, but experience of nothing see is seeing. So not nothing, yet you're seeing. So experience of seeing is awareness, but what you see, nothing to see, is emptiness.
And are you referring as well to a kind of an ultimate inseparability of awareness and emptiness?
Yes.
In the ultimate ground of all. Yeah.
ultimate ground all. And normally we cannot discuss this in the public, very detailed level practice, because we need to have this surprise. It's like when you watch the movie, if you know the ending, beginning of the movie, then it's spoiled. So in the traditional practice, we learn step by step. So we kind of like giving the clue, the ground, what we call ground, meaning the introduction of this basic goodness, introduction of our true nature there. But the actual practice, it comes later.
To speak to maybe where I'm at in terms of this trajectory that you're laying out, Rinpoche, I'd say it's a few steps back from what you're describing. But what's been very helpful for me is an aspect of what you're talking about here, I think, which is when you go down and down and down, looking at a thought or looking at yourself, it's there's a kind of classic meditative instruction, some version of who is the person who's taking this breath, or what is it that is breathing right now. And you can kind of do the same thing with a feeling, like with an anxiety or a sadness. You go down and down and down, and you kind of get to the bottom of it, and you go, wait a moment, is there anything here actually? And that it just, that can be quite radical for people as an experience. I've had little moments of it myself where you just have this, it's almost like you're, that vertigo feeling, like you're falling off the chair, and you just kind of go, whoa, what's there? Sometimes when people start touching that, it can be a little destabilizing for them. And you had a extreme experience of that, and what you were talking about earlier with that near-death experience that you went to, how it was really all falling apart.
Yeah. So the really important is the experience itself never falls apart. But what falls apart is the conceptual construction sometimes falls apart. So it's like sky never falls apart, but the cloud, yes. So need to remember that, these two things. So, and I do this practice, as you said many times, like panic attacks come sometime. I just jump into the panic attacks, feel the panic. The moment when I try to feel the panic, sometimes I have a question, where should I look? Because you cannot really find a single solid panic, When you really look at, become pieces. The sensation, there's an image, there's a lot of talking, there's a belief. You can do that with anger also, hatred. Nowadays, when we look at the news, a lot of bad news, we feel upset, angry. Then look at the anger. Also, anger become pieces. Sensation, image of that, the words, the belief. So if you take one away, then everything collapses. Without sensation, there will not be hatred. Without object to hate to something, with something, right? Without that object, hatred cannot appear. Then the articulation, the voices, the reasoning, without that, how to hate? And then there's a belief. This is right, this is wrong, this should not. Without that, hatred cannot appear. So sometimes what I call, it's become like shaping form. So it looks like piece of rock, but inside full of bubbles.
Well, I'm still really happy about this, like ding, 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 for me and all this, and reflecting on fear. In other words, as a biologist and psychologist, I look out where I live, as Forrest knows, because it's still our home. We have many birds and many creatures and many squirrels, and they are always looking over their shoulder, like for the attack. They are wary, they are vigilant. So anxiety and fear is really quite a central feature. And it certainly is a major, major topic in a lot of self-help, clinical psychology, certainly in the West. And what is striking me in what you're saying is the opportunity for people in practice is to locate the love and the fear, locate the longing for goodness, the longing for home in the fear, even in the bodily experience of anxiety in both subtle and extreme forms like panic. And that's what stands out for me here, this opportunity to find the through line, that line, that thread of goodness and longing for goodness that is goodness in our own hearts.
True. And also and this fear actually deeper level is love, protecting you from the dangers, and there's kind care, so many things there. And like there's a research, scientific research, the Dr. Richard Davidson from the University of Wisconsin, and they did research with the infant, like baby, maybe 2 months to 3 months old, and they show the baby a puppet, kind of image of puppet. And there's two puppet. One is kind puppet, and one is mean puppet. And they look at the baby's the facial expression, eye movement, what they call nowadays 100% of the baby like the kind puppet. So that means the baby was born with this kind, actually, deeper level, this goodness. But of course, then when the circumstances appear, sometimes what we call the nature of the tree and the habit of the tree. So nature of tree, straightforward, balance the branches. But then if you have the wind blowing only one direction, then the tree maybe go a little bit that side. So of course, then circumstances, then the ignorant plus aversion craving is covers.
What's also running through so much of what you're talking about here, Rinpoche, at least in my understanding of it, and please feel free to correct me here. What supports all of this? What supports seeing the cloud and seeing the sky and being able to separate them, the recognition of emptiness, all of that? I think there's this aspect of it that's all about permitting change, or like letting things be different in the next second than they are in this second.
Yes.
And that's something that also psychologically comes up on this podcast and just when you talk to people a lot. There's this sense of a continuous through line from then to right now. And so everything that happened then is still kind of in now, in a sense, for a person. And it becomes very like welded to their experience. The part of the description and the writing of that near-death experience that I connected to so much was how so much of it was about letting things dissolve and letting them change and letting it just open up in a different kind of way. You even had this deep reflection on your own practice as very minute aspects of your practice as being kind of driven by this desire to be good at practice, as opposed to this kind of desire to see like the deeper nature of reality or whatever. And I just thought it was a really beautiful reflection on that topic of just allowing and permitting and letting go in this very, very, very deep way. And I suppose I'm wondering what you think helps people start to get some kind of a sense of that, where they start to feel like it's okay for things to be a little different, tomorrow than they were today, to put it a certain kind of way.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think one of the important thing is we give permission to ourselves that can change, impermanent.
Mm-hmm.
And also, deeper level, we are looking for happiness, don't want to suffer. That means there is a message from inside, the longingness. And that means we are worthy to be happy and worthy to be free also. And sometimes to be free, to kind of like develop that happiness is sometimes not so easy, right? Something new. And we not become a little bit familiar with ourselves. Sometimes that become not so easy. So the one very effective practice, especially for the beginner, is appreciation, gratitude. So just being appreciate that you're being alive. Just appreciate that maybe you wash dishes. And appreciate that there's a roof on the top of my head. And appreciate the having senses, whatever sense you have. So every day, appreciate and gratitude three things. And if you can write down, that's also really beneficial.
In early Buddhism, there's this emphasis on how the fact that things are continually ending is, kind of a personal problem for people. It creates unsatisfactoriness. And I have been troubled by that because it seems to me that if we, with the wisdom factor you're describing, it's obvious that for everything that is ending, there is another that is arising. The next moment is continually arising. We are becoming. And you talk about the bardo of becoming in both an ultimate sense after the body dies, but also in an everyday sense, the ongoingness of becoming. And if we can be grateful for and appreciate the richness, the endlessness, the overwhelming gift of the next arising, then we can become more comfortable about letting go of what is ending.
Yeah. So normally what we call the bardo, meaning in between moment. And in another way is we are dying. We are dying every day. But that dying is also rebirth. So normally what we call, actually there's no real death. Actually, everything is becoming. Important is in our mind, we need to learn, let go, let it die. Our old self, all feeling, all habit, all belief, they will change, definitely change. And when they change, don't hold it. If you hold it, then you feel disappointed, then depressed, then sad, feel insecurity. So let them die. But then what happens next? There's fresh experience, the fresh you, fresh broadcast, fresh coffee, a fresh tree in front of you, though it's there in front of your apartment for many, many years, but you never saw that before. The fresh street. Well, being with the present moment, and that being with the present moment actually, it helps for the future also. So like during the wandering retreats, I went to the mountain and like back for 4.5 years. Sometimes I hike in the Himalaya mountain. So some place I have to walk for 7-8 days. First day I'm alone. Second day I will meet the villagers. Then we become friends. But they walk very fast. So then what I have to do is I have to wake up a little bit early and I start early. And one day I forget to walk early. So I become the last. And they're all gone, The first person is way up in the mountain, become very small. I look back. The last night destination is not far. Then I thought, oh, he's way up there. Oh, not far from last night. So past and future. I totally lost with the future, with the past. Then what happened? My body became very heavy. Normally, I said, there's a 10 more kilo gain on my right leg and the left leg. And each step become very heavy. And my body becomes very stiff. Then I thought, I learned meditation for a long time. What happened today? I forget all these things. Let go of the future, let go of the past, be here now with the body, with the steps. And I just continue to walk. I become lighter, more happy. And actually, in the end, I become the number one.
Aha. That's a nice bonus.
a little moral of the story at the end there. Rinpoche, thank you so much for doing this with us today. This has been truly a remarkable experience. We really appreciate your work, your
Most
teaching.
welcome. And
Yeah.
thank you very much for both of you doing this broadcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I really invite people to look into your work. And in your writings and in your teachings, there's a directness and a simplicity and a clarity that's direct that I found extremely accessible and very impactful. That's the point. We read these things to be affected by them. That's the point. Not just to understand, but to be affected in a beneficial way. And I've been very affected by you and your writings, and I want to really encourage people to explore them.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Speaking with Mingyur Rinpoche today was a really special experience for me. I've enjoyed his work for a long time. I've gotten a lot out of it personally. His book, In Love with the World, is one of my absolute favorite books I've ever read, period, including particularly in the space of contemplative practice or personal development, however you want to talk about it. And this is going to be a difficult conversation for me to recap because so much of what Rinpoche was talking about he put in such precise language that it's going to be almost difficult for me to summarize it. So this recap is going to be less about summarizing the conversation and more about sharing what I took from it personally. Before we get into that, I did want to let you know that one of the reasons that we got in touch with Rinpoche in the first place was because both he and Rick are going to be in South Africa pretty soon, actually. So Rinpoche is doing a tour in South Africa from August 27th to September 7th. It's going to be a series of talks and retreats and events in Cape Town and Johannesburg, and a number of those sessions are going to be made available for free online. I don't know if they're going to live stream them or if they're going to be recorded and then put online, but either way, you can learn more by going to Tergar, that's TERGAR.org/South Africa. And I've included a link to that in the description of today's podcast episode as well. Specifically, I think the events that are freely available for everybody are the Boundless Compassion event on August 28th and Rinpoche's Anytime, Anywhere meditation event on September 6th and 7th. We started by talking about Rinpoche's wandering retreat, which he did about 15 years ago. This was when he left behind everything, pretty much. He left behind his title as an abbot, his monasteries, his name even, and he went out and wandered through India, on the streets, living in caves in the Himalayas, the whole thing, for about 4.5 years. It was a very long experience. And fairly early in that experience, he got extremely ill. And he writes about this again in his book, In Love with the World. And during that near-death experience, he had a series of realizations that he writes about in great detail. And these realizations were made possible by the depth of his personal practice that he had been engaging with since he was just a kid, about 8 or 9 years old. And I think we touched on many aspects, many of the central, most important aspects of that experience during this conversation, really seeing experiences broadly, sense phenomena, feelings, emotions, conversations that we have with other people, as fundamentally, heavily in quotation marks, empty. What this means is that if you keep on going down the rabbit hole, what you eventually come to is that there's no there. We can understand this on like a scientific atomic level where, you get down to these units of measurement and you realize that, wait a second, an atom is like 99% space, but everything's made of atoms and we can't just walk through them. What's going on here? Or we can understand it more in terms of practice. If I look to find who Forrest is or where Forrest exists, what I find is I can't find it. There's not a place where Forrest is. There's just this sense of who I am. Who I am is constructed in a word. It's built up of all of these different labels and thoughts and feelings and assumptions that I make about myself. And the better we get at seeing the constructed nature of phenomena, seeing these things as clouds, the more we can access our kind of true nature, the sky itself, the thing that is in some sense unchanging and stable, and that exists at a deeper level than all of those labels and concepts that we place on top of it. And that true nature, the sky itself, is innate goodness. It is awareness, love and compassion, and wisdom. Rinpoche kept coming back to those words. And he gave a number of examples and told a number of stories of people having the realization of their own innate goodness. He was very affected by the story that he told of the person coming to a talk of his saying, well, you say everybody else is innately good, but I'm really not because I actually hate myself. And so he asked them, well, then why did you come to this talk if you hate yourself so much? And they said, well, no, I don't want to hate myself so much. I want to feel better about it. And he said, well, there you go. If you truly hated yourself, you wouldn't actually be here. You would just be consumed with self-hatred. You wouldn't actually want to do something that was for your own betterment, that was self-improving in a way. And wow, what a wonderful metaphor for everybody who listens to this podcast, right? You wouldn't be listening if you weren't interested on some level in whether it's self-improvement or learning more about the mind or just engaging with something that gives you a sense of fulfillment and enjoyment in a world that can often be quite challenging and lives that can often be very difficult. Like you are motivated fundamentally by a desire for something good, a desire for something better. But that desire word is quite tricky. The word craving, tanha, in Buddhism is the core of suffering. It's attachment. And Rinpoche spoke to this to some extent from his own experience working with his panic attacks, how part of the problem with having a panic attack is that you start fearing having a panic attack, and your fear of fear, aversion of aversion, becomes a primary problem for you. And so part of what we're doing is we're lightening up about that attachment broadly. You aren't really pushing away things so much anymore because you realize that pushing it away is also kind of a version of pulling it toward you. And we can heighten our recognition of that, the recognition of the nature of the sky, getting better at seeing the clouds as just clouds when they appear, looking inside of ourselves and getting a bit better at seeing, oh, all of these labels and assumptions and identities that I've attached to this thing that I call Forrest are really kind of constructed. I've made up a lot of them, and then we've kind of layered on a bunch more socially. And if you really keep on looking at it, it's just kind of turtles all the way down here. We heighten our sense of all of that by engaging in consistent practice, what Rinpoche calls anytime, anywhere meditation, where you're freeing yourself from needing to have the very deliberate 30 minutes on the cushion where you are focusing, as Rinpoche said, right? And that contraction, that kind of no past, no future, just right now, actually makes it harder to do the practice itself. This practice is subject-oriented in nature, so it's not so much about any specific object. Sure, you can use the breath. Sure, you can use a body sensation. Sure, you can use a walking meditation and the feeling in your feet as you walk, but it's not so much about that. The target, if there is one, and even the word target is kind of tricky because you start to get sort of performance-oriented and like you're trying to get an outcome from your practice. But the feeling associated is increasingly that feeling of the sky as the sky, awareness as awareness. And you start to get little glimpses of that, and you get little glimpses of it that are difficult to describe in language that I think makes any kind of sense if you haven't really felt it before. To do my best, it feels very wide and open and spacious. It feels like this layer of chronic anxiety and self-monitoring and just sort of an awareness of all of those structures just kind of falls away. And what's left is this real sense of, I don't often use this phrase, and it's the kind of phrase that I'm typically a bit allergic to, but I don't have a better one. This real sense of inner peace, where you're just being, you are just in that sensation of awareness. And that can be a really wonderful refuge and a really beautiful place to go to every once in a while, at the very least, if you've got access to it. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Again, many thanks to Mingyur Rinpoche for coming on the show today, to my dad, Rick, for being such a great facilitator of this conversation. I'm very curious what everybody ends up thinking about this one. It was a little different from many of our typical episodes, and we just felt, frankly, so honored to have Rinpoche on the show. If you've made it this far and you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, if you could take a moment and subscribe to it, we'd really appreciate it. Again, Rinpoche has his events in South Africa. I've got a link to that in the description of today's episode. I hope you'll check that out. You could find us on Patreon if you want to find another way to support the podcast. It's patreon.com/beingwellpodcast, just a couple dollars a month, and you can get transcripts, ad-free versions of the show. We don't actually create any Patreon-specific episodes. Some people have come to Patreon recently and asked, like, hey, where can I find the special Patreon episodes? There are no special Patreon episodes. We make everything freely available to everybody to the extent possible. But hey, a great free way to support the show is also by leaving a comment on YouTube, leaving a comment on the podcast platform of your choice. Really does help us out. So until next time, thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.